It's kind of insane to me to see the Democratic Party response to their base's protests against the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's currently ongoing because a lot of their base support a ceasefire. Now, whatever side of the issue you come down into, just as somebody that's interested in politics, the response that the Democratic Party is having, and specifically the Biden administration, toward the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, reaction to their base, specifically young people who want a ceasefire, who want the war to stop, and who are maybe in many ways anti what the Netanyahu government is doing, has been pretty disastrous, in my opinion, because it has been to talk down on their own base, and they have not done anything to address sort of the issues that are piling up on them, specifically things that may change the November election for young people who may not vote for Joe Biden, who are calling him things like Genocide Joe, and for the significant Arab American population that's in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania, and the Muslim American population that's out there that could tip the balance of the election in November in the Electoral College. And I found it very interesting to see this clip in MSNBC where the Biden administration decided that they were going to do a fundraiser with Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. And they raised $25 million, and they had all of these high-value donors in there, and they had a protest going on outside. And the response that the administration and through the administration and their conduits had toward the protest was almost reminiscent to me of basically how the Republican establishment treated the Tea Party in the 2008 through 2012 into the 2016 time period, which is basically to dismiss them, to say that they're not part of the establishment, that they're being just ridiculous, or they are maybe trying to get the moral superiority complex going on. And this is basically what Barack Obama says about the protesters in this particular case, which is crazy because you have multimillionaires having dinner to raise money, and you have basically the base of the party that's outside. And the reaction is to say that these people are not really providing real solutions, and that they are just kind of out of touch, and they're basically young people with no idea of what's going on, which is crazy coming from Barack Obama because that was his base in the 2008 and 2012 election. And I think that this is a serious crisis of elitism that's in the Democratic Party. And I think if Donald Trump is smart, he can exploit this to his advantage in the November election. So just take a look at the MSNBC clip, and I will come back and finish up with my thoughts.
All not too far away from where I am, Presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton joined President Joe Biden for a record-breaking campaign fundraiser. The event pulled in a staggering $25 million, the biggest haul ever for a political event, according to the Biden campaign. It expands the president's already staggering $155 million campaign war chest. And that is more than twice as much cash on hand as Trump and the RNC currently have. NBC's White House correspondent Mike Memoli was at the fundraiser. He joins me now. Mike, it's great to see you in person. It's been a minute. Great to have you here in New York. So what stood out to you the most? This was quite a historic event in so many different areas. It was kind of groundbreaking in its format for a political event. You were there. What did you take away from it?
I mean, only 45 men have served as president of the United States, right?
Right.
And we got to see 3 of them in a conversation tonight. Now, Stephen Colbert was there, too. He tried to make it light. He started off by saying, this is a historic moment. We have 3 presidents coming to New York, and not one of them is going to court. So that sort of gave you a sort of sense of the lighter moments. But listen, I mean, this event was all about trying to help Joe Biden fix some real vulnerabilities he has in this election. The biggest one, and probably the standout moment tonight, obviously, was Gaza. You just look out across the street, see how many protesters there were outside, and there were some inside. And they tried to disrupt the event at multiple points. And it was Barack Obama. I mean, the Obama-Biden relationship is so interesting. I spent a long time covering it. Biden defended President Obama a lot, and that was what endeared him to President Obama and a lot of his supporters. It helped him become president. Tonight, it was Obama coming to Biden's defense. As they were continuing to disrupt this event, Obama at one point scolded the protesters. And he said, it's not enough if you want to talk, you also have to listen. He said that it's one thing to have moral clarity and to think you have the solutions, but it's another thing to recognize that these are not easy problems to solve. He said what only a president can say. This is not an easy job. It's a lonely seat, as he described it. And he went on to sort of lay out the challenges in this situation in Gaza, things President Biden has tried to do, the complexity of what's still ahead. And he said, that's the kind of president I want, is somebody who's bringing his empathy, his wisdom to this situation. And the crowd ate it up. They really did erupt at that defense.
Do you get a sense that there was at all this contrast? There's this generational contrast between what a President Obama represented and certainly what a President Joe Biden has talked about. But was there any sense from the Biden campaign that having these two stars, mega stars of the Democratic Party flanking the current president could in any way backfire in just kind of reminding people the stark contrasts?
I think the Biden campaign recognizes that they need all the help they can get.
Right.
And there's no one better to help them than these two former presidents. It's interesting because you talk about
So my closing thoughts is this. Number one is that the mainstream media always saying things like it was a historic event. There's nothing historic about the event itself. Just because there's two presidents there, this is just what happens behind closed doors. This happened to be public with celebrities involved. All the political parties are now beholden to this huge money interest, and they don't serve the interests of the regular people. So raising millions of dollars in public is just common now. They don't even hide it. Before, they used to hide it in these little dinners they used to have, but now they make it public. So there's nothing historic. Again, the mainstream media, the historic thing would be that this is now publicly you can raise millions of dollars. There is no sort of restriction of how much money you can spend in this billion-dollar presidential campaigns. But apparently to the mainstream media, the raising of the money is now historic. Number two, you have people like Stephen Colbert, again, celebrity culture, who used to portray kind of an everyman. And in reality, he's a multi-million dollar celebrity. And again, they're talking down to the regular people. Again, whether you agree with them or not agree with them, the protesters, they are alienating their own voters. And they're talking down in the elitist way, the same way that the Republican Party did with the Tea Party and with Donald Trump's campaign in 2016, how he was, kind of this outsider joke. He was never going to get elected. And lastly, this strategy seems to me that it has the potential for disastrous consequences in November. Because even if a small portion of the electorate in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin stay home, Donald Trump could snag the election electoral college-wise and be the new president once again because of the Democratic Party's elitism, just like in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, the talking down to people like Clinton did with the basket of deplorable comment. And it seems to me that they are completely out of touch, this administration, with what's going on with the American people, specifically young people who are now not only facing inflation, lower wages in terms of the expenses having gone up, not being able to afford things because of high interest rates, used car prices are up, houses are unaffordable, but also not addressing the issues that the young people consider important, things like Palestine, Israeli conflict, and coming to a resolution on that. You may not like it, the administration may not like it, the political parties may not like it, but the people of the Democratic Party are asking for something and they're being dismissed, and then they're turning around and lecturing these people as if that they are obligated to vote for the Democratic presidential candidate. They're not. They can stay home. They can vote for another party. They can vote for a third party, or they can just go and vote for Donald Trump.